good morning, whatever your time zone might be. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to kind of do a little overview of what the Cybersecurity Strategy program is, and then I'll kind of cover. I'll do my bio here. We have a slide of some of the examples of kind of some of the folks that are teaching this course. But in general, all the instructors of the course, both for our online and now it used to be in person, obviously now flex kind of program, are all cybersecurity leaders and working with the intelligence community, DoD, different defense contractors, and in general cybersecurity vendors. They all have pretty wide gambits when it comes to working in cybersecurity teams, working developing tools and techniques utilized by cybersecurity vendors. And one of the reasons why we developed this program was really saw a need for the leadership of cybersecurity teams. So like if you're a technical person, an engineer, or a SOC operator, analyst, hunt member, there's lots of programs out there between different certificates and different kinds of boot camps that are geared towards the technical side. And so if you want that, that is not this program, right? So this program is really meant for the gap that we saw of a certificate program geared towards leadership of how do you lead these security teams, how do you develop strategies, how do you understand what the strategy of the CIO, CISO, Chief Security Officer, Chief Information Security Officer, what are they doing? How are they interacting with the business? How are they interacting with their technical teams and taking that information and applying it to the business or the agency or whatever that might be. Next slide, please. So what are some of the learning objectives? So in developing the course, we set out to what are we trying to get students to take away? What are the things what are the objectives that we want you all to hit once you complete this course? And so the cool thing about the course is we kind of have two bookends. So we have the basic building blocks, was this first course of the building the business case. And so this is really about how do you understand kind of the fundamentals of cybersecurity. We don't expect you to have a undergrad or master's degree in cybersecurity with this class. We will teach you the basics of what you need to understand when you're in more of a strategic kind of role in a cybersecurity group. It's how do you build the business case for it? Why are we doing this? Why, when if you are running a SOC team and they come to you as the SOC manager or as the the business person running that team, how do you help them? Well, first to understand why they're asking for these things, and then how do you build this business case for getting more budget or getting more headcount or whatever might be necessary for growing the team or getting more budget to acquire more IT or more tools or software, whatever it might be. So then the whole program kind of builds off of that. And again, so we'll mention this in the slide later, but in the objectives are they're made so that you can kind of take them in different times if you want to, but that's kind of the how we build up from that. So all the business case kind of builds on from that, and we get into, we want to understand what the cybersecurity issues are, the national and global kind of level, and then be able to articulate a strategy for cybersecurity as to why are we doing this, how do we build the training around it, how do we build implementation around it. And then we expose students to the risks, the different kinds of risks that are kind of out there. And then we get into some of the frameworks and regulatory and legal compliance things that you're definitely going to want to know as a cybersecurity leader. And then it all kind of builds into how do you build a crisis management plan, which I'll get into some more detail in the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's the kind of structure? So I mentioned before the classes they're built to be kind of self-sustained. I think ideally, taking the class, from 1 to 6, from X plus 600 to 605 is kind of ideal, but it's not necessary, right? So you can come in, say the program's in right in the middle, start in the middle, and you're like, I want to start right now. You come in at X plus 602, which is the number 3 there, the technical countermeasure and risk assessment course. Great, not a problem. Just go ahead and jump right in, and you can finish the course out and finish with the 601 that's there. It's not a problem. All the courses are 2 weeks long, and you'll have different professors teaching. I teach the online class. I teach on this list the number 1, number 2, number 6. So it's X plus 600, 601, and 605. So I teach kind of the bookends of the course. And so every course is 2 weeks, like I mentioned. They all typically will have at least one office hour that'll be more towards the beginning of the course. This is an hour Zoom session that I suggest all students attend, and attend every one. It helps you kind of it's just good to kind of socialize with the professor and the other students, and it helps you learn about other students' experiences, and what all other people are doing, how they plan to apply the class or the coursework to their profession. But kind of like double click on some of these classes. So I said before, the number 1 there, X plus 600, is making the business case for cybersecurity. So this is the fundamentals class, teaches you some of the fundamentals of cybersecurity, and also how you apply that in a business use case. And then you would get into threats and vulnerabilities and social engineering. This is kind of double clicking on cybersecurity as to what are threats and vulnerabilities that are out there. What is social engineering? It'll get into kind of the details of what's kind of out there of a 10,000 foot view. It's not going to get into like, here's some malicious code, or here's an exploit we're gonna kind of analyze. It's really what are the classes of threats and vulnerabilities, and so that you're aware of these things when a team is talking about it. Then we get into the countermeasures and the risk assessments. This is where I mentioned before, one of the objectives of understanding risk. So cybersecurity in general is just one big risk exercise. It's measuring how much risk we're exposing to our agency or our company or our government or whatever it might be, our organization, and it's applying the principles of risk mitigations onto that. So then we get into managing security, and then we're getting into like some leadership and strategy in cybersecurity, and then the bookend, or the end of the class, ends with kind of a capstone. So on the capstone class, there are kind of 2 parts. There are first is a case study where you'll study one of the kind of a classic breach that happened at the GSA, which is a government agency here in the U.S. that was accessed by a foreign adversary, and we kind of you have to make some readings of this and then apply it, and you can kind of put your hat on of you are now the head of security at GSA, and how you kind of handle some of that. And then the very end of the last class, which honestly is my favorite part of the whole program, it's kind of like I designed the class to be like, I grew up loving these kind of read your own adventure books where you kind of you read through the book and then you pick a section and you're like, okay, I want to go to the left, or I want to go do this adventure or whatever. Instead of going to the woods, I go to the beach or something, right? So that was kind of the idea that I had as to how do we simulate a tabletop exercise in a virtual environment. And so one of the things that we do there is you're kind of reading your adventure of being running the security team at a fictitious company, and you're given a briefing by your technical team, and a breach happened. It's basically a 3-day long breach. It's not obviously 3 days in real time, but it's 3 days of you get to read, and then you respond to things. So you get to help. It's basically trying to apply the the learnings of the rest of the class as to, here's the information the technical team has given you, and then you now need to articulate that to your leadership or articulate that to the public, and then how do you mitigate against kind of what's happening there. So it's super fun. I tried to simulate stress in it too. So one of the things that we do is you only have a certain amount of time to respond, because in the reality, one of the things I like for students to take away from the course is that nothing's perfect, right? So the response you give is the response you give, and you don't have all the information, you don't have infinite amount of time to respond to these kinds of activities that happen. And that's one of the things we're trying to teach. What you take away from the course is we teach us all information, but then at the end of the day, it's when you're the business, you only have so much time, and time is not infinite, like I said. And how do you respond to that? And so I think it's really interesting way of applying the course. Okay, so I mentioned this before, but obviously we're not doing in-person classes today. For the spring, we're still doing either online or we call flex learning. So flex learning is similar to what we used to do for what we call on ground or the in-person class. In-person classes were essentially 2 weekends, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For the course for over 2 weeks. So that's been basically applied to a in-person Zoom class. So it's basically an online version of the in-person class. Now the on class is different. The online class is asynchronous, meaning that it's a 2-week course. All of the coursework is already there for you, but I'm not presenting it to you. You don't have to be in a Zoom session for an entire day or whatever. The program, the material is already developed for you, and then you go at your own speed. I like to say this is definitely the online class is something that I appreciate very much as a working professional. In general, everybody thinks this class generally has a day job. Some folks that are in between jobs or are taking some time or whatever. But this is a job for for people that have a day job, have kids, and you want to work an hour a day or a couple hours throughout the week to work on the coursework. You work at your own pace. You just have to finish it within the 2-week time that that each course is. And I'll tell you all this. I tell our students is this is not something to wait to the very last weekend to complete. It does have some rigor in it. You are learning things. There are assignments in there. So this is not just some thing you can do over one weekend, unless you don't want to enjoy your weekends. I enjoy my weekends, so that's why I try to tell students of kind of space the program out. That way you're consuming a little bit of information every couple of days, and that's kind of the ways for success. So with that, I think next slide, and I hand it over.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, hi, everyone. My name is Julia. I'm one of the enrollment managers for this program as well. This is just going to be a quick overview before we get to the live Q&A at the very end, but this is just some generic information about the program in order to complete it. Some basic things. So you just saw that there were 6 courses. They equate to 108 hours of education, which is the same as 10.8 CEUs, which is kind of like the non-credit version of a credit. All 6 courses must be completed within a 2-year time period. You can spread out the courses as much as you'd like. You can rearrange the courses, though it's not generally recommended, but we usually just recommend take the first course first and the last course last, but they are scheduled in such a way that you can take them back to back in the order that they were on the previous slide. And you can mix and match formats. So back when we used to have in-person and now flex learning, as John explained, you can mix and match the traditional online, which is the asynchronous, where self-paced, self-motivated, lots of time management required. You can mix that with some other classes that are in the flex learning option. So you can have both online, self-paced, asynchronous, as well as synchronous flex learning classes with those live Zoom sessions. Does not matter which you take. You can mix and match whatever you'd like. This is just another basic overview of what Flex Learning is, just in case. Everyone will get a recording of this whole webinar as well as the slide deck in a PDF format. So if you need to bring this to an employer and explain what Flex Learning is, it is the in-person version of online that we're doing at the moment. Everything is as in-person as it can be while we stay safe at home. It will still be a live class. We know that some places don't offer tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance if it's not a live class, but this is what we're doing at the time to accommodate for that. Everyone will get a link to the Canvas, which is our learning module, our classroom modules that we're using to submit grades, papers, have discussion boards. That's where all of the classwork will be turned in. But the Zoom links will be communicated to you through both email and through Canvas. So Zoom and Canvas are the two modules that we use. Both have excellent smartphone apps and good websites with good user interface. I highly recommend both, and they're both very easy to use. Down to the nitty gritty, here's the tuition for everything. All course materials are included. The only thing that you need is a laptop. The laptop should include, or you can buy separately, but you will need a microphone, which you can find on most earbuds if you don't have one, and a webcam. The reason why these are required if you do the Flex Learning option is because we do need to have proof that you are in attendance, and that does mean you'll have to speak and be visible to us. So if you have a laptop, make sure it has a working webcam, and if you have earbuds or a microphone in your laptop, that will do just fine. We do have some funding options, and when you get the PDF slide deck, you're able to click this link. We have several options for tuition. While we don't have FAFSA, because we do not qualify since we are non-credit, we do have employer funding if your employer has tuition reimbursement, which can be done through third-party billing. We have alumni discounts and OPM discounts if you are a Georgetown alum or federal government employee. We have a list of private education loans that you can find on our website as well. And we have an interest-free payment plan, which consists of 4 equal payments of 25%. The way to register is pretty simple. It's open enrollment. There's no application required. I did see a question in the questions pane if there are any prerequisites. There are. You do need a bachelor's degree or equivalent. It does not matter what the bachelor's is in, although something related to cybersecurity or tech is preferred. No proof is required. We have an honor-based system. But other than that, it's just like online retail. You create an account with us, put whatever you'd like into your shopping cart, and check out, and then you are officially enrolled. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions. I do have a few all ready to go for both of us, John. This is also our main email address if we don't get to your question or you have questions afterward. And this is our main telephone number. It comes to myself and my other 2 colleagues. If there's something super specific, we can always forward your inquiry on to John. But with that, anyone can type in their questions. We'll get started with everyone else that's here. John, right off the bat, I have one for you. If you could reiterate, what type of job does this certificate prepare you for, or what kind of jobs do you think most people will go for after this or move up in afterwards?
Yeah, so there's a couple different kind of backgrounds. So we have a lot of folks that, like I mentioned when I was speaking, is we have lots of like people that I would call them cybersecurity adjacent, in that they're either in an auditing position or legal or compliance, and they either want to understand cybersecurity a little bit better as to because they're kind of adjacent to cybersecurity and they work with the security team. They want to understand it better from a strategic perspective, and then helps them that way. So it's them trying to work better with the internal team that they work with. And then there are also some of those folks that are in that same kind of bucket, and they want to get into cybersecurity, into more of a leadership position, not necessarily an analyst, position or an engineer position. So the people that are called cybersecurity adjacent either wanting to get into it, or it's some of the technical folks that have some desires to be in more of a management kind of a role, and they have one of that upward trajectory of maybe leading a team at first, or running a SOC team, a security operations team, with the eventual desire of being a information security officer or the CISO that's kind of the trajectory, right? So it's definitely applicable to running, at the lowest level of running a team, or if you're like an engineer or an analyst that wants to run a team and be exposed to the business side. In general, that's kind of what we see. So it's we've seen a lot of students be able to migrate from compliance role into security and leadership, or also take a technical person that wants to be in a leadership role. We've seen those also.
Excellent. I have another question for you, John. It's regarding the classes. For the assignments and projects, is it mostly group work, teamwork? Is it mostly individual work? Is it a good mix? Could you tell us more about what's expected of the assignments?
Yeah, so I think they can be a little bit different between the online class and the flex class. So for the online class, everything is asynchronous and is done by yourself. Now there is one of the things we do to kind of develop community within the class, for people to collaborate with each other, is part of the assignment is to comment on other people's work. So if the assignment is, hey, read an article about this and then give us a synopsis or give your opinion on, I don't know, like two-factor authentication, or how this security concept kind of works. The part of the assignment and part of getting a passing grade for an assignment is you commenting on other people's work. So you typically have to comment on two other people's work, and then doing that gives you a passing grade for that assignment. For the flex / in-person classes, it's really up to the professor as to how they do it. I believe they do have some kind of group work that they all kind of work together on, but it's a little bit more of a mixed bag for the flex classes. But like I said, the online classes, there's no group work. It's all by yourself because it's asynchronous.
Very good. And I'm just about to type out some more answers to some other questions. Um, I can answer some of these, and I'll reiterate some of the other things on previous slides in case anyone missed. Tony asks if there is financial aid for courses or terms or scholarships. Unfortunately, no, because it is non-credit. It just doesn't qualify for financial aid or most scholarships. You can certainly apply for scholarships and grants. Just make sure to check with the sponsor that they allow these funds to be used for non-credit classes. That's normally the part where they say, no, we cannot do this. It's only for credit courses or degrees. But if it's allowed to be used for non-credit, then yes, we do accept those. Just make sure with your sponsor that they will allow that. Let's see. For the instructors, Tony does ask again, what the instructors are like. Are they current professionals? Yes. All of these instructors are current professionals working in the field, and they have such a passion for it, teaching and what they do, that they have come to Georgetown to teach what they've learned over their lengthy careers. They're all current professionals in the field. They'll be learning from people that have firsthand experience in these, in the fields of cybersecurity and tech management. And we'll leave it open for a
Hey,
few more
Julia,
minutes. Oh, go
one
ahead,
thing I
please.
want to add that onto that too. One of the things that I
Sure.
offer to all of our students that go through my classes, you have my email address, and there have been lots of students that have taken the course, and then 6 months later, they were like, hey, I'm looking at this job. Can you give me some advice? Or back when we could be in person, I've had coffee with lots of students that are in the DC Baltimore area, just to kind of talk about, I'm always open to talk about the industry, or want to talk about, kind of where to take your career, or, just my kind of the general advice. I'm always open for, having, a quick Zoom call, or phone call to, kind of talk about that stuff. So, I do try to build kind of a community around the students that are attending, my courses. And I think a lot of professors do that also.
Excellent. We'll leave it open for a few more minutes as we allow a few more questions to come in. What does joining this class from Europe mean, especially for time zone? So if you join the asynchronous online sessions where you don't have to attend a live class, then you can absolutely do this. It's just time management, turning things in by deadlines. The deadlines will be different since the deadlines are all in Eastern Standard Time. So if something is due by 11:59 p.m. midnight our time, it'll be due at 4 a.m., 6 a.m. the next day in your time in Germany. That does mean, however, for the flex learning courses that are live Zoom sessions, all of those Zoom sessions are going to be in Eastern Standard Time. They will not be recorded for later viewing, or they might be, but you will still be required to attend as though it were an in-person class. So that could be difficult. That we do have people that have done it, especially people that live overseas but still live on an EST schedule, such as military or government workers. So they might be able to do it just fine. We do have people that do it on their own time, and because they're night owls, it works out fine for them. But just be aware that the time zone will be in EST, and if you are outside of that time zone, you will have to accommodate for that time difference. That is all. A very, very good question.
Yeah, we've had lots of it. I've had several international students, and I get emails from them in the middle of the night, but it's fine. I can reply in the morning, so it's not a big deal.
Exactly. All right, we'll give it just a minute more if there's any other questions. Fields are open if you have anything else. If not, we can always end early. Everyone will be getting a recording of this hopefully by the end of the day today. Depends on how long it takes to download the video. If you do not get it today, then you will get it Monday afternoon. I'll send it out to everybody who attended and also anyone who registered, regardless of whether or not they could attend. The audio and visual should be up, and you'll also get a copy of the slide deck so you can click all the links in the slides, such as the tuition and funding, the email address, etc. No more questions have come in, so I think it's safe to say we can end early. John, any parting words before we sign off?
No, really appreciate everybody's time today. And if you have any questions, please contact the team here on the phone number or the email address. And hopefully, looking forward to seeing some of you in class soon.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. You'll get a recording hopefully tonight or on Monday. Everyone have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.